Okay, let's try this again. Yeah, let's try this again. I done the 117 yesterday, and I felt with great success. I did take like an hour and 45 minutes, but it seems to be about 2 hours damage. I tried making a video a couple times. Well, those that know me know that I got problems with coordination and fingers shaking and stuff, and I just couldn't get the controls of the fleet down. Thanks to Jonathan Bryan, he pointed out where I can get a macro to help me control his fleet better. So I got a macro installed now. Now we're going to go over this. My build is basically on the zeloses like I had for the FM115 no damage. I did do a little tweaking because I had to get my second zelos was heavy to get armor on. I do have plans on refitting this back to MX3 so I can still use it in garrison style TLCs. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sprints. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Gale 3s. I do have a Harrier, but that's for in case I want to use this with my monos and the garrison style TLCs. I got one Phalanx 4. Frontline countermeasure system, solid fuel booster 3, speed system 5. This one I'm going to be refitting back to MX3 and high velocity rounds. You need the high velocity rounds for the 100% projectile speed. That's a must. Now this second zelos, come on, there we go. I've done a little changing on it. I've got 3 M's on here now. The other one I had 4 and 1 X. I plan on putting another X on this one and replacing M on the other one with an X. And this is going back to MX3 too. I do have HVR, Speed System 5, the Frontline Countermeasure System. Now where I've made the small adjustments so I can make cut some weight, I dropped some Gales down. I dropped 1 Gale 3 down to 2 Gale 2s. And then I got some all Gale 3s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them. And I dropped 1 Phalanx 4 down to a Phalanx 3. And that was to open up some weight on this thing so I can get my charged armors on and get the, well, I've got reactive 3 on here, but I'm not really needing it because I'm able to do a 117 if I drive properly with 0 damage on the zeloses. So I don't really need the reactive 3 on them. I'm going to go back to MX3 so I can use those with the monos. Now my dragons, they're not finished, but they are performing well, and I am satisfied with what they're doing with being that they're not finished. I got 2 plates of X charged, 3 plates of M charged. I decided to go with MX3 instead of reactive 3 like Jonathan Bryan. The reactive 3 does give a little less, cut your damage down a little bit, but I want to be able to use these in garrison style TLCs. I also went with precision napalm detonator because it gives an 80% splash and a 49% explosive damage. Garrison battery MKX gives 18% explosive damage plus building and wall damage and the turret defense of 50%. Now this is where it gets important. Explosive system 4, it's got a 43.3% projectile speed, but it decreases your spread 20% and has a 62% splash. The decrease in spread is important. I got the RFX engine, which gives an explosive reload and a bonus combat speed, turn speed, mat speed. and everything. Now we're going to look at the twin fires. Now this is where the explosive system 4 becomes important. It's got a minus 20% spread. The twin fires, if you look up here, spread 150. Okay. Now after I've done this, I'm going to be putting a narrowed firing aperture on here, which will give me a 30% decrease in spread, and also increase my splash more. So I'm going to have well over 200% splash and a minus 50% spread. I'll have about roughly a 75 on the spread, so the rockets are going to be doing a lot more damage to the buildings. And the splash, let's see here, about 200%, so I'm going to be right around 45 on the splash. I'm also going to be adding a sprint 4, or no, I'm sorry, not a sprint 4, a sprint and a Gale 3 to this, because I've discovered that my Z-losses with the sprints, they're too far away in the background, which I got to keep them back so they don't get damaged with splash from the MIRV missile from the executives. They're too far back to be shooting the rockets down that are hitting the dragons. And I've also found that the Gales are too far back to cover the dragons efficiently. They do shoot a lot of mortars down, but then there's some mortars that land outside of the anti-mortar range, and I get explosive splash. So I'm going to be adding a Gale 3 and a sprint to all 3 of my dragons, and then I'm going to put another twin fire on and a Ronacondite rocket, and that'll round out my build. These other 3 Z-losses fit up to, or not Z-losses, dragons fit up to exactly the same. So, now we're going to take this fleet and we're going to go find us a 117 and hit it. And I'm going to hit it so you can see how this fleet does. Alright, got a 117 located. I'm going to come over here. I like to hit right around in this position right here. That's where I like to go in. Currently, I haven't hit a whole lot of these 117s. I am thinking of maybe a 11 o'clock and then come down to the right and go counterclockwise around. I need to try that one day. Probably save me some time backtracking the way I've been doing it. Alright, now we're going to use my fancy dancy macro. Now, I failed to mention, you want your dragons no further than this outer ring of the aura on the zelos, no closer than this first inner ring. You got a little bit of a play there, but not a lot. Now, these destroyers, they are snipeable. You just got to be careful. See, I sniped it. The missiles never did remote target. Mastodons. See, I'm actually killing this stuff really well. I really like how fast it's killing everything. Now I'm going to come back over here. I am going to retreat and come back in just for the fact of to recharge my charged armors. I'll zoom in so you can see those. If you look closely, the way I'm driving, zelos, no damage. I do have some hits on the dragons. See the charge's been hit and everything. So I'm going to retreat and come back in. And do this again. Now, be warned, I don't have my actual route down yet. This is only the third, maybe fourth 117 I've done with this fleet, other than the tests that I've done with the zelos and stuff. So I'm still actually figuring out a good route. I've tried other people's routes and it don't seem to work that great for me yet. So I'm going to find one that'll work for me. Now, I do expect once I get more rockets on here and get that narrowed firing aperture, I'll be killing these turrets faster. Which means I'll be taking less damage because I won't be sitting here waiting to kill them. Up here, I kind of come in about here, turn my fleet so it's going the direction I want, move my dragons up so I don't get splashed from the execs, and bam. Select the whole fleet, come in. I did get a little close and I saw the charge flash on the zelos, so do got to watch that a little. I'm going to retreat and come back in instead of driving back around. This is the corner that I should be doing at first, I think. So I'm probably going to come in on another target, if I can remember. Up here, come down, start here, and start sniping out all this stuff, and then work my way around. I think that would be a lot more efficient. I'll save that for another video on the route. But I wanted to get this out there so people can see what I'm doing and how well the success I'm having with it and everything, and maybe they can have a direction to go with their dragon. I'm preferring the route with the zeloses for two reasons. One, I do believe I can cut my damage down. Two, I'm not looking at having to do a complete freaking refit when the flag comes out and I look at it and go, oh hell, is I got to refit my dragons. Well, a lot of people say, well, we got tokens for that. Well, yeah, we do, but I still hate doing refits. I'd rather use my tokens for other things. I plan ahead. I plan my builds ahead. I also try to plan around Kixeye and their slow releases on stuff and even lag. I do build these fleets with lag in mind. You can do that. And that's why I've got all the antis on the zeloses. Okay. Too close. I need them a little further out. There. And we're going to come on down. Down arrow. Come in a little more. Down arrow. Come in a little more. Down arrow. Now here I'm going to do a right or a left click and a down real quick, so that way I just barely inch in that destroyer. If you get too close, you'll trigger those mastodons. You just barely want to lay on them, or lay your targeting ring on them. See, I got too close and I triggered the mastodons. If you can avoid triggering those mastodons, do so, as they do massive damage fast. I need to regroup those dragons, bring them out. Now the fires, the thrower looking things that you see there, that works with that's the twin fires and the dragon breath working together. It's like a secondary weapon through the dragon breath. Alright. This gets a little tricky right in here for me. Snipe out this executive. Oh shit. I forgot the other executive. I need to get it out of there before I go in the middle. I'm going to retreat and come back in the other side, up there about 1 o'clock, and I want to come down and snipe that executive. I forgot to get it out. I usually do that when I do the destroyer. I do like to enter here going into the center. It seems to be a good spot for me to enter. You got other entry spots, but I like that spot. I take the least amount of damage going in there. So, because I missed that executive, I'm going to have to go in, snipe it out here, then I'll have to retreat and come back in and come in the other side. Or I could just drive around. Quicker to retreat though. I may drive around, I don't know. We'll just see what I feel like doing. Okay, now we're going to come down and get this stupid executive that I forgot out of here. I'm going to move my dragons out a little bit. Hopefully. That wasn't a mistake because I got turned. Now we got to come on down here. Wow. There. That's the way I like to take that executive out. Notice I'm doing splash damage over here. After I increase the splash, I expect more splash damage over there. And screw it, I'll go around. There is a mastodon right down in here you can't see. It's kind of blocked. You can outrange these mastodons too. Alright, I'm going to click on the water down here. It don't matter as far as having them stacked here, because you ain't got those little MIRVs, missiles that does splash damage. But you do want to be careful coming in and just so you can outrange the mastodons. Here, don't worry too terribly much. I just want to make sure the mastodons. Now that I've done some damage here, see the mastodon there? Now, I'm not too worried about the mortars because, well, my antis are taking care of those. And that mastodon usually gets taken out by splash. Alright. Now, as you can see, when I messed up in the beginning, the two zeloses, they took some damage, but minimal. We'll go back over here to the dock and look at what kind of damage we got. Probably going to be around the 2-hour mark, which, like I said, I do expect that to drop a lot because right now my building DPS is around 600,000, 680,000, something like that. By adding another twin fire and ironic condite and narrowed firing aperture, I pump them up around 1.2 million building DPS. Yeah, 2 hours, 3 minutes for the dragons. That's a win for me with what I've got right now. I do think. Okay, this one goes there. This one goes there. Yeah, 2 hours, 6 minutes for the 117. Now, I'm not going to hit another 117 because the trick is with the charged armor, Your charged armor only recharges up to the health level on the ship. So, being I got damage on the dragons, charged armor is only going to charge up to what the health is on the ship, on the dragons. And because of that, I'll actually take more damage on a second 117 than if I would be to wait a couple hours and repair these. So keep that in mind. I did try it. Oh, the second 117, and believe me, it was about 8 hours when I was done. So don't just make sure you keep your ships repaired when you're doing these. I hope this is helpful and informative. Please subscribe and like. I could use some subscribers.